Okay, all right, I'm here. Oh boy, if it's not one thing, it's another here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Roach Crossing General live stream thingy, December 30th, 2021, the last live stream of 2021. Oh boy, has it been a very long and it's been a pretty good year overall, fortunately. So, uh, yeah, so welcome everybody. It really feels like it's been way more than a week since the last live stream. There's just so much happened last week on the live stream with Kai, and this has been a long week since then. So I hope everybody was that before Christmas? Yeah, it was just before Christmas. Okay. So yeah, I hope everybody had a nice Christmas. For those who don't celebrate, I hope you just had a pleasant day. um, so yeah. So hopefully everybody looks like Alex got Deraplatus uth for Xmas. Curious what species Kai and I went in on some. I got Deraplatus truncata. I think he got lobata. Hello, TJ. Good to see you. I'm trying to think if there's anything in particular I need to bring or wanted to show off. I guess just general news would be a good place to start. Actually, I'm going to look at this colony of Renovations from Sahurarita, because there's a huge grain mite outbreak in here, like real bad, because I overfed fish flakes, or maybe it was dog food. So I just put one end of the cup on one end of the cup more on the heat pad that I use to give them a little temperature gradient, and it's just dried everything out. But the problem is I have to make sure it doesn't get too dry, or it'll wipe out the cultures. So I just sort of check it every day until the grain mites have lost the war, and then the baby Aeronavega probably eat them with the powder that all the corpses create. So there's the other stuff. TJ, if you're listening, I can't remember. I mean, I have the label for them, or I labeled them. The Tomasters you sent, they were minor, right? Not vulgaris. Let's see, anything else going on? Took some Orthopteran eggs out of the freezer, or not the freezer, out of the little wine cooler fridge I have over there. Excellent minor. That's what I wrote on the container. So, yeah. So stuff. I got some Corsinura texensis from Alan. He sent some a couple weeks ago, and they died in condensation on the way. So then the next time he sent them all in bare vials, no paper towel, no water, padding, or anything, and they were fine. So that's good. I have them in my second to last ditch effort bin to start them breeding again. I'll do a 32-ounce cup if I don't get good results from the setup they're in right now, but I feel pretty confident, unless they need a diapause and they were pulled out too early. But usually by December you can yank wild caught stuff out of diapause and they'll just mature in captivity without problems. Did you get some from Alan as well? I'm hoping, I don't know, maybe after all these years we just overlooked something really silly with their husbandry, and they'll be Alan. They'll be really easy, like Parrish I have been. Big news, a couple of big news items. First and foremost, I have my first baby Pseudoglomerus magnifica. I went to pack some springtails because that container is just loaded with Willosia busky. It doesn't sound as fun to say as busky. Oh yeah, you told me about the Galinthias. That's exciting. I had some ghosts hatch out a couple days ago, but I had left the ooths or actually it was on Christmas. I left the Ooths in with some L2, L3s that had already hatched. So it wasn't as exciting as seeing a container go from having nothing in it to having a bunch of some things in it. So yeah, that's one piece of big news is the pseudoglomerus. So the setup, whatever the setup I have, works. The babies are huge. I didn't realize. I think the ones that Junior had sent me, some of them may have been newborns or first instars or what have you. And they're really big. I was expecting them to be maybe like half to 3/4 the size that they are. So from here, now that I know this setup works, and I have an idea on what temperature and whatnot they like, I'm going to be doing some renovations in the bug room. And by that, I mean probably having Will move stuff around. Probably mid to late next week after orders go out. And I'm, I love, or maybe I'll move them in here. I really love having stuff in here. I really love having like the Hemipterosaura here because they're right there, and it's part of my daily routine every morning to get up and to spray them down, and that's been really 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 nice, just sort of like waypoint to my day to start things is seeing them. But I was thinking I've got all the stuff here. I'm probably going to rearrange it. I'll probably send the Anisomorpha and stuff downstairs. I also like being able to take care of them daily with the spraying, which I can do downstairs. It's easier here to do things quickly on a whim and last minute. So I'm probably going to move those downstairs onto a new rack. And where I was going with this is I think I'm going to try the pseudoglomerus in a 10-gallon. I think I'm going to get them into a 10-gallon with the heat lamp over one side, because basically for most of the time they were up here, they were belly heated by one of those heat lamps. So I think I'm going to move them into that. I just have to, I'm kind of playing chicken with it because I want there to be babies popping up to get some nice Elee effect. So I don't want to do it too soon, but I don't want it to be too late where, they're going to end up crowded and they're not going to be able to find appropriate hiding places and stuff in the bin they're currently in. And then, I would get infant mortality, which I really want to avoid as much as possible because I want to have a nice, big, vibrant, healthy colony of these moving into the future. So I might, just get a tank ready and then move them in on a whim when I look in there and just have that intuitive feel that things need to be moved. So that's exciting news. Checked on my Panacea angustipennis cognata from Laos. Lots of babies in there. Very exciting since I have bred Panacea before semi-sparingly when I lived with my parents. And, it wasn't enough that I had any to make available. But there's enough babies in there now that I think I can actually list them on the site with the Roach dump that I'm going to do. I'm actually probably going to work on making some pages tonight. I've just sort of been Google account settings warning. Interesting. Oh, that's probably because I cleared my cookies and stuff before I signed in here to try and fix the issue. So probably gonna move a bunch of stuff down there, or maybe I'll keep the pseudoglomerus up here so they get, that extra little doting care and affection and put them there. But that does mean some of this other stuff is going to have to move, like the Aleniscus and Cotinus. No, the Cotinus can stay here. I might even put those on, cool those, because I'm getting kind of impatient for adults to emerge. But I've been told that I should just wait for the Mutabolus to emerge. I don't know. I like instant gratification, but at this rate, a lot of the other beetles that I've been working with take forever. I don't know how beetle people can do this. I like the Pacnotum and the Euphoria. They just pop out of the cells and they're good to go. I can't take this months waiting for something that's already physically mature. So yeah, that's the other big news. There was another big thing. Something that I wanted to talk about just because I found it very interesting. So Kai who was on last week on our lovely Scolopendra Christmas special. Kai has been doing work with Scolopendra, which he mentioned before, and Hemiscolopendra. He's just been doing a bunch of work with North American Scolopendra. Is it a family? Is that Scolopendrini? I hear Victor calling at the back door, so I'm going to go see if he wants to come in. So we'll put a pin in that. Kai's Scolopendra work. Victor's been at the point where he has been antagonizing me to open the door, and then he doesn't always come in. And in fact, most of the time, he doesn't seem to actually want to come in the house. So I have to show some tough love so he knows if he scratches on the door, he needs to come in, and I'm not going to play this whole in and out game. Anyways, so I may get up to try and let him in a couple minutes and see if that's what he wanted. Scolopendra, Kai Scolopendra research. So there's some things that he would like to not discuss yet for the publication, but there are some things that he has given me full liberty to discuss. One of those things being that they're looking at, I think, a handful of genes for their analysis of the North American Scolopendra, Hemiscolopendra stuff, and he is really scratching. So let's see if he wants to come in. Good boy. Yeah. There you go. Making up your mind. He's a good boy here. Just tilt this down. You see Victor's photobombing this particular live stream. He says, don't talk about Scolopendra, talk about me. Talk about me because I'm cute. Yes, I'm very cute and lovable and need affection and attention. Yes. He's a good boy. Yes. So, Kai Scolopendra research. Dog or cat? Dog. If that was not clear already. Kai Scolopendra research. They did a bunch of sampling when him and Alan went through Florida and collected a bunch of alternans, which alternans is still the appropriate name apparently, not longipes, whatever. And on their genetic work, the tree that they produced with the genetic data they found, how you look at a phylogenetic tree and there'll be, the lines will split and there'll be very, clear definition of lineages and stuff like that. You look at the alternans thing and it's basically just like a straight line. Like there is almost no diversity or differences between the alternans, but and so that was very interesting to see the tree and just be like, there's like no genetic variation there basically. And so a couple of things that have been floating around. What? You're very cute, I know. A couple of ideas that have been floating around were that alternans may be not introduced, but a very recent entity may have recently expanded into Florida, like within the last 50,000 years or something, relatively recently in geologic time. So that was one thing that was suspected. The other thing, which is just as interesting, maybe more interesting, is a lot of us, the bug folk, were talking about alternans, both the other ones in the Caribbean and the Florida ones. And apparently some keepers have had them for years without males or just, alone and gotten offspring occasionally. So it's possible that alternans might actually be a parthenogenetic species, or at least the ones in Florida, or at least certain populations in the Caribbean. It makes sense for an island species, I suppose, to be parthenogenetic if you've already got a good generalist kit for something. Usually parthenogenetic or asexual species are more selected in stable environments. So you don't see as many parthenogenetic species in, strictly parthenogenetic. There's plenty that can switch between parthenogenetic and then also producing sexual individuals like aphids and whatnot. But strictly parthenogenetic species, think like Pictoskeles surinamensis, tropical species of tropical origin. But for islands, very useful for colonizing islands if you don't need to have a member of the opposite sex to reproduce with when you arrive on a new island. You can just go eat things and reproduce. And if you don't have any sort of specialized adaptations or niches, you can colonize very effectively. So yeah, that was the interesting thing that one of the interesting things that Kai has found in the data they've collected. So I'm curious to see how that goes, and I have a couple alternans here, and Kai has alternans as well. So we'll see if maybe just a matter of time for them producing offspring. In fact, this makes me want to move. I have the one. A lot of people getting bit by alternans lately around me. I don't know if it's me or something in the air, the water, or something. But I might move my alternans, the one that bit Jihu on the spring Florida trip. I might move that into a larger enclosure and, see what happens. It's already confirmed female. It produced some babies for him, but it ate them. I'm wondering with a more comprehensive setup that is more set up and let go if we would get different, get another batch out of her. So that was something that's happened last week. I'm trying to think what else. More important announcements. Let's see, anything else. I've been redoing all my isopod containers again because I'm a crazy person. So I got a bunch of critter keepers, and I have this. I really want to get all of my setups well ventilated. You may notice looking behind me. How are those mini Wettas of yours doing? Okay, I'll put a pin in my crazy isopod stuff. Excuse me, sir. That is the rug. I just can't. His eyes are too cute. TJ, it is Taphiliska. I have it written over there. Taphiliska eleuthera. Sir. Taphiliska eleuthera. This is my second time working with them. If you were in the other stream, you would have heard me talking about how I produced some offspring from them, and it was kind of an accident because I had given up on the ovipositing container, and then some hatched out and were apparently one of them found enough vegetation from my cuttings in the windowsill to sustain itself and molt at least once or twice. So I have 4 of them. I can't remember how many Alan and Kai brought back, but I have 4 of them in that enclosure. No. Good boy. I have 4 of them. One of them, I don't know if it molted and was weird or if it, suffered some collection damage and then has recovered from it, but one of them is missing several legs. Yeah, so if you guys gave me 4, then yeah, there's 4 there. And they seem to eat fish flakes just fine, even though they eat mangroves in the wild. They sit on the mangrove leaves and seem to eat like the fresh-ish ones, not the most recently put out leaves, but the ones that are just sort of opening up that probably don't have as many phytochemicals in them. And yeah, they're really cool. Taphiliska eleuthera. I like that the adults have red eyes. It was already missing a few legs when I caught it. Oh, then it's doing great because it'll probably, hopefully, recover some of those legs when it molts a few more times. But yeah, they're really weird. There's the entomology department of Florida page said something about they had one in captivity and it burrowed into a piece of cork and it would spend the day in the cork with the antennae sitting out. I don't remember us finding any under bark or anything like that in the wild, but they might go into little tree hollows or under bark and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very, make sure he's not eating anything he's not supposed to. It's very interesting that they readily take fish flakes in captivity, but it might be one of those things where they're just a generalist and they just sort of get by day by eating the mangrove leaves, and that's just something that's their little specialty. But they can also flex and eat other things like bird poop or tree snail slime or whatever they find. And of course, we also know they oviposit in. They don't oviposit in like sticks, and they don't oviposit under bark or in leaves. They actually oviposit in the ground. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that they might lay in like rotting wood, but I mean, they seem to lay just fine in the material that I gave them. I will probably, when I move them to their final enclosure, this is just so that they're in the office. I spray them daily, and I keep a closer eye on them than some other cultures. Probably be a 10-gallon with 2 inches of sand mixed with. I probably won't go with coconut fiber. The coconut fiber I've been getting lately has had a problem with a lot of it having flower pot fungus mycelium. And it's not always a huge issue. I think it makes the substrate less appealing to orthopterans, even though I have a couple of cultures of things like some Pseudophilus and Gryllus that are doing okay laying into it. And it just makes me feel kind of uncomfortable to have flower pot fungus. So I might do a sand, really rich potting soil mixture. I could autoclave the coir. I don't know what temperature will kill the fungus gnats, the flower pot fungus mycelium. Go Armenian! Hello, Tim Harigian. We have a fellow Armenian in the chat. Fascinating. Yeah, but like I said, I'm not too sure if it's a problem or not. I have some helix species that I thought that they're substrated half sand, half coconut fiber, and I just coughed. Where I thought that the whole substrate just got eaten and completely consumed by the flower pot fungus mycelium, and I just have been looking at it every day and just being like, oh man, I gotta do something about that. Oh man, that's bad. They're not gonna be able to oviposit in it. Oh man, I don't like that. And then today I found babies, so I was like, okay, I guess I was just worried for nothing. So it might be more of a problem in bins. It might be more of a problem in bins that are not as well ventilated. I have noticed that isopod colonies tend to not do well when flower pot fungus mycelium spreads rapidly. And I'm wondering if it might be a chicken or the egg thing also, where the conditions that allow the flower pot fungus to colonize that quickly and rapidly and aggressively are conditions that are not favorable for the isopods. And so as they decline in numbers, you kind of think, oh, it's the fungus that's causing the problem, when in actuality it's a change of conditions. So yeah, teasing those variables apart, we'll see how things go. But I might just do the potting soil anyways with the sand. It holds moisture just fine. There's a problem. A lot of invertebrates hate that flower pot fungus, particularly those who burrow and need to oviposit substrate. Only a few inverts who don't mind gross conditions do well with that. Yeah, so like I said, in a couple of my Gryllus containers, Gryllodes and Gryllus, there's and Pseudophilus, it's started to colonize the moisture areas. But I'm getting great hatch rates out of that, and it's been months. So I'm wondering if maybe, like I said before, it might be a ventilation thing where it's not as big of an issue when it's well ventilated. The only inverts you had that gave no F's about that stuff. Yeah, I had it pop up in almost all of my 16-quart isopod containers. But again, most of my isopod colonies until maybe like 3 weeks ago did not get any maintenance since July. So that could explain the die-offs as well. So I have seen them eat the coconut fiber after it's been colonized by the mycelium, but not when they're starving. They probably need something very specific when they munch on it. They eat stuff like Pleurotus mycelium very readily, and even the inky fungus, inky caps, they eat that mycelium as well as the mushrooms quite readily. Mushrooms before they release the spores, and then after that they eat the mycelium. It seems. I almost lost my lowland Parkabletta americana colony to those this month to the flower pot fungus mycelium. Alan, I didn't know you had a lowland americana colony. I gave those such a good effort, maybe around 2010, 2011, and I couldn't get them established. So I was a bit disheartened, which is why I was happy about the Twain Hearts doing so well. So yeah, the Tafaliska are doing well. Not too many failures of projects that I've started recently. Trying to think, a lot of my springtails are struggling. I think I should probably take them out of the dehumidifier chamber because in the winter the house humidity is usually low enough that I don't need to take more moisture out of it like I do during the summer. I very vaguely, Alex, remember receiving Parkabletta. A lot of people have sent me just miscellaneous strains, and a fair amount of the time they don't get established because of X, Y, and Z. I keep them like my larger Porcella species, and they were doing well for a while. Yeah, so trying to think anything that's not doing well. A lot of the cosmetic harvestmen are doing really well. I confirmed that the colony of Sei is established. Ornatus, I think I was looking into them when Will and I were working the other day, and I saw some that were already like almost full size. And it's been pretty congruent with my Venoni's experience that they will just suddenly be adults. You'll find a couple of babies, and then like in some very short period of time looking again, and you'll just have a bunch of adults pop up. So the Venoni's are doing well. The what's that other one? I can't remember what the species Cuba or species from Cuba cosmeted. Haven't found any babies of those, but they seem happy. What else? I'm not sure what else I was going to report on. A lot of things are doing well. Is there anything that Goliaths? I got some more Goliath beetle larvae to toy around with. Tristan says there are blizzards where I live, which shouldn't happen thanks to global warming. So it's hard keeping my roaches warm and humid. Yeah, it's tough in the winter if you have a really strong furnace in a small room. It really dries the air out. So I actually prefer it that way because then I can't overwater. There's constant evaporation, so I can just constantly water, which I prefer over accidentally overwatering, which is what can happen all during the summer. So at least with the humidity here and the temperature too. So another roach thing. A lot of the Renovations are looking really good. Found Mount Ord babies, so that colony dipped a little over the summer. I wasn't very concerned because all of the remaining individuals looked very healthy. And so now back on regular schedule of stuff, there's a lot of babies. So those are doing well. Oh, they missed stuff. I do need to restart my little penguins, I think, or get males because for some reason I've ended up with all females. A lot of my ectobids did not do well. The basement ectobids didn't do well over the summer. All the stuff that was up here, we just kept consistently warmer and not necessarily taken care of more readily. But the stuff that was warmer and I guess by extension drier, the water could just evaporate out, did really well. So some stuff, and I'm thinking. I have a lot of ectobids in 5.5 gallons downstairs, and it worked really well. It could be Wolbachia. I think that might be what happened with the Botella Vega that I had before. I think it might have been that because it's like Germanica would be breeding, Acini would be breeding, Litericollis would be breeding under these conditions. Why do I just suddenly have all these adult Vega that aren't doing it, that aren't doing anything? So yeah, I had thought that. I don't know how to test for that, and it's probably more Alan. Alan, that might be your sort of thing to look into. But I know Auburn has their Vega colony, and it's just fine. So Vega just haven't done well for me in a while. I need to check my Asana, but I'm pretty sure that they're doing well. They're just on a high shelf and not a very high priority. So, but I'm debating. I like these smaller setups. I might to, not that I need the space, but it's nice to have things itemized by take care of these more frequently, do less maintenance on these or whatever. So I'm thinking I might do another level here, stacked like that up there, and move heat lamps down to the bottom and move, do another row of that here, redo that shelf and fill it up with critter keepers, and move a lot of my ectobiids into there, like the Blatella. Because, very rarely do I need 1,000 Blatella. There are a lot of researchers who reach out looking for different species in large quantities, but usually they're okay with a little bit of a lead time to stuff. And so, it might make sense to me to downsize colonies into more manageable size containers that will get more frequent care and should probably do better. So I don't have to constantly pester Alan to collect me different ectobiids or send them back to me or whatever. I guess TJ too. So I'm thinking I might do that. How are your Gyna Cappuccino doing? My bicentennial bread. So now I'm hoping to get Cappuccino again next year. Congrats, TJ. They're doing great. I started with 30 from Thai last November. 30 with Thai from last November. I would think that there's probably 200 or 300 in the colony now, and I feel confident enough with the husbandry I've been providing them that I don't feel like I have to constantly check on them anymore. I just sort of set them up and let them go. My bisanulata are doing very well. Surprisingly, out of all my Gyna, can we see your Gyna Cappuccino setup? Yeah, I might bring it on later. Remind me in a little bit. It's literally just a 5.5 gallon tank with maybe like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of substrate, and it's like the pulverized cocoa fiber, everything else that they turn their substrate into over time, and then on top of that, it's just like coconut croutons and some mulch and stuff with a couple of pieces of bark. So it's a tank. I think that the ventilation really helped. And the ventilation, and they're also over a heat lamp, so they get belly heat too. So I'm keeping them warm and well ventilated. And I don't have a problem with grain mites or anything in there either. And all the food stays on the dry, warm side. So, where was I going? Strangely, where I was going was Gyna yellow is not doing very well for me. I keep expecting to check in on them and find a bunch of babies. I mean, all my other Gyna colonies are doing exceptional. It's funny to think about, like, some of those were in teeny tiny hexagons for almost a decade, maybe more than a decade for some of them. And so to think this, like, all these generations, countless individuals have like come and gone in this like hexagon, and then I finally moved them into 5.5 gallons. But yeah, the yellows are not. I think they didn't like the slight neglect over the summer, and I think now I'm getting a crop of new adults just maturing within the last month. And so I don't know if those old adults are in condition to produce, but with these new ones popping up again, fingers crossed, hoping for just a matter of time, because it's Gynolurida. There's going to be like 1 billion babies per ooth. So I'm just hoping one of them pops, and then I'll just have to fight the urge to trade them or sell them until there's a ton of them in there. So, but I'm not sweating bullets. I feel pretty confident. It's just a matter of waiting and not being ambitious to sell or trade. Oh, I do have bad news. That reminds me. I think I told Alan before, but unless somebody here knows somebody who has a colony, I think Rhabdoblata rustica are extinct in culture. I don't know if that's just in the U.S. Or not. So, yeah, that's sad. I found 2 adult females dead. A couple of weeks ago, I saw an adult female with an ooth, and when I checked on them, the physical disruption of moving the piece of wood very slightly damaged the ooth. But I don't think that female is one of the dead ones I found. I was down to 3, so it's possible. Like I said, I found 2 bodies. I didn't go poking around for much more. It's possible that the last female, if she's still alive, could be gravid, and we might be okay. But I don't think so. And I talked to everybody else who has them, and nobody else has a colony going. And it really sucks because I kind of figure with how easy they are to get going, they would be around forever. And then everybody failed with them at the same time, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And I guess it's kind of nice. It's not something very iconic like Gyna capucina that this happened to, but it sucks because we don't have too many epilamprine roaches, and we have those Borneos, which my colony is doing well. It rebounded after I crashed it into the ground after having hundreds, and then had to cobble together a new colony from Alan and Chandra's old or their groups. So the species Borneo are fine, but oh boy, it's very disappointing. Unless somebody out there has them, we could have a Elliptorhina levigata situation where somebody's just been keeping a colony going all these years. I don't know. Tyler Headland doesn't. He was who I refreshed the colony from once before. Carson Mikeworth in Minnesota had them, lost his. Brandon Maines, TJ, you'd know if Brandon lost his or not, but if he did, then yeah, we're kind of all screwed. So that sucks. Unless somebody pops up years from now. Yeah, it does make you want coffee. I've been on a caffeine drip for the last 5 weeks, and it sucks, but I'm getting so much done, so I can't really complain about it. So, So yeah, rip Rhabdoblata rustica after we found out what they actually are. Maybe, if we get them again, I may go so far as to make 2 enclosures and have them next to each other. And just when the initial culture is starting to get nymphs maturing, I will take a dozen of those and put them into the new enclosure that's just waiting. And then just sort of do this back and forth between the 2 of them. So yeah, if maybe I'll do a search of my email and see who bought them in the past and see if anybody is still maintaining them. It can happen. Mark Mayer might still have them or not. I don't know. I know he has Borneos. So, but yeah, and I don't know if I think Ty and Brandon may have a Pistoplatia. I feel like those are constantly under threat of going extinct in culture. Not that they're particularly difficult, but a lot of these, again, the epilamprinae, just seem to be a bunch of babies. Excuse me. A bunch of babies, and then if the population just gets too large too fast and there's not enough food or space, it just crashes through the floor. So yeah, so that's kind of sad and also annoying that you can't just find somebody else to restart them from. Happy news. Come on. Gotta have some happy news in here somewhere. Hmm. Hmm. It's an omen. How about any of those cultures? Anything doing well up there? I mean, everything's just fine. Haven't gotten anything other than the pseudoglomerus. There's not really too much to write home about up there. So I guess not. Rhino roach babies I announced a couple weeks ago. So that's good news. It's kind of a bummer. I really got to think of something good and exciting here. I have to go through the bug room in my mind and see what is everywhere and try to think about what's producing and what's not. My Paranophyta formosana are rebounding, so that's good. Oh, more bad news. My Harlequin roach colony crashed again. Any luck with Paraplenia brunea? I have a bunch of adults. I haven't seen any nymphs pop up. They all look healthy. So I don't know. I could go and check on them again. I probably will do that later. So nothing new to report with those. Like I said, I assume that they're doing just fine. Again, where I was going about was my Harlequin colony has finally bit the dust. I have no clue why. They were in that bin for like 2 or 3, or in that tank for 2 or 3 years, and I would get pretty reliable hatch of babies every couple of months, and they just sort of piddled along. And yeah, I'm wondering if one of the pieces of bark, I had some bark pieces that Kim Wisman had given me that used to be in his snake enclosures, and I know that he treats for mites occasionally, and I'm wondering if maybe adding one of those pieces to the bin, I introduced whatever the pesticide, and that caused them to decline. This is really something that I just sort of started piecing together maybe, but I don't know. Junior still has them. I'm talking to him about getting some more. So if I do, be a whole new enclosure, all new bark, blah 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 blah. But that's also very upsetting to me because I do really like the Harlequins. But at least they're not completely gone, and we have a couple of ways to get more wild caught ones if things got really desperate. So that's not too bad. Hmm. Good news. Good news. Oh, let's see what's going on in the chat. How are your pseudophorastus? I couldn't find them 1 week, and I think the last time I did maintenance, I found 4 of them, uh, looking bigger than they were when I put them in. So that's good. I don't really check on them. I mean, I check on them regularly because they're in one of those containers. But when I go into that container, I don't necessarily meticulously try to hunt for every one of them. I just sort of do a general check on food and moisture and make sure nothing seems amiss, and then move on to the next bin. So they seem to be doing fine. It would be a tragedy, a comedic tragedy, to lose Rhabdoblata rustica but get Pseudophoraspis established, and I kind of feel like it might go that way. Uth of your Paraplenia brunea took unusually long to hatch. Yeah, I really, it's been so long since I've had a good colony of brunea going that I can't really remember what the hatch time and stuff was like. But I have a full 10-gallon, and I would love a 10-gallon full of Paraplenia brunea. I want 10 gallons full of all kinds of Paraplenia because I really like them. But I just moved the Nophyta colony to a new bin, not a bigger bin, but the 6-year-old bin was all cracked and damaged. Yeah, I have a couple of old reliable containers. A lot of those hexagons. I still use the hexagons for starting some stuff. TJ, I threw your Parcablata americana from Table Rock, Table Rock, yeah, or whatever it is, Table Rock Mountain, into a hexagon because keep the humidity a little higher during the dry winter. And I have a couple, and they're 101% escape proof, so that's nice. They have brass microscreen ventilation and lids that completely snap and lock on and conform to the lip of the container. So I'll use it for, starting small projects of new stuff that I really don't want any chance of any sort of escape possibility. So, but some of those is plastic. They're from 2009, 2008, 2009. The plastic is completely yellow. Some of the corners are pushed in from being thrown around. And can we see your Simon Doa Conservarium? So let's see. I could get a picture and link it in the chat. I don't know if I want to carry the whole 5.5 with the cappuccino upstairs. And the Simon Doa are in a 10-gallon tank. What I think, actually, I'm going to put a pin in this. I think what I will do after the isopod work is all done is I'll look into doing a live stream from my phone. I would admit this. It's literally 2021, soon to be literally 2022. I am sure that I can do a live stream from my phone. But, once everything is nice and perfectly organized, it'll be wonderful in a couple of weeks. I'll probably do a tour of the bug room. So, because I post pics occasionally when there's not, substrate on the floor or bins that need to be worked on out and about. But we'll do a nice tour, and I can look at those enclosures a little more closely. So, any tips on telling apart the nymphs of Naphita, Pictoskeles, and Panclora? I am not good to ask about the Pictoskeles and Panclora. Although late subadult Panclora will have, and maybe even nymphs will have green between. If you flip them over and look, you can see the hemolymph or whatever material that is green, like the adults would have. And I found Panclora to be a little more squishy than Pictoskeles, but apparently sometimes the Panclora can have those rough segments at the end of their body. And I think that was the true Nivea that have that, because I don't think my hobby ones have that reliably like Pictoskeles do. Pictoskeles are pretty bulky. And Naphita can climb smooth surfaces too. I think Alan just said that. One of the ways you can tell Pictoskeles from Panclora is Pictoskeles. So, not all the Pictoskeles nymphs can climb smooth surfaces. Even younger Surinamensis can't. And it seems like it's kind of a mix for which ones that are pre-sub to adult can climb. But Phomapterus nymphs can't climb smooth surfaces, or Tenebrigera or Striatus or any of them. That seems to be an Indicus and Surinamensis thing. So I'm sure if we took a closer look at them, there might be something. Naphita and Pictoskeles nymphs look identical. The Naphita are more elongated, more of a consistent chocolatey brown color, and they can climb also universally. Naphita nymphs or Cinerea nymphs can climb from newborn upwards. So, what else? Trying to think. Was Sulophilis? I can't remember what species. There's the one from up by the Southeast Research Station. I'm going to pull up on iNaturalist because they had a tentative ID for these ones. TJ, these are the Sulophilis that you had told me might be Arizonensis, and the iNaturalist has a confirmed ID on one of them. So I'm just going to zoom in and see what this says. It's from the south. It's from basically the same place that we were. I mean, I would be very surprised if it wasn't, on this same road. Cave Creek Visitor Information Center. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of Pseudophilus up in those mountains, and there's probably at least 5 species up there. Oh, maybe, let's see. That's ID'd, that's not ID'd. It's weird how there's so many species in such a small area. I don't think I saw that one before. Oh, that might be a match. It's also funny looking at these records. You can see where people just drove into the mountains and they didn't try to go to other places. There's one. There's a not ID'd, not ID'd, tentative ID'd. So okay, this is an ID for the ones that desiccated almost immediately upon getting back. Pseudophilus pallidus. Those were up at significant elevation. And those ones, the smaller, desiccated almost. I think they might have even, some of them desiccated on the trip, even with care every 2-3 days. Pretty crazy. So I think that's what those were. But it looks like from the pictures that Pseudophilus chiricahua, which I would assume is a Chiricahua Mountains endemic Pseudophilus, is a fair match for the ones that laid eggs and hatched when I lost the female very quickly after setting them up and thought, oh, there's no way there's going to be eggs in here. And then apparently there were because they're doing very well. How do you stop flying roaches from escaping? When I'm working in bins, since I use mostly 10-gallon tanks now, it's very easy because they fly up at an angle, so they'll hit the side of the bin and land, or they just won't do it at all. And just passively, like in an enclosure, just have a very secure lid. And because I'm paranoid, in addition to the lids, I also have a finer mesh screen that goes underneath the lids to form sort of like a fake gasket. I mean, there's gaskets on the lids, and then this extra material adds another layer of stuff that they can't climb past easily. They have to work their way underneath the material and then between the gasket and blah, blah, blah to get out. So it works very well for species that will fly and sometimes perch on the lids. So I'm very happy with how that works. So TJ, if you're still there, it seems like that might be a Chiricahua endemic Pseudophilus species, and there are a couple other of endemic species of the Chiricahuas. So it makes sense. But we'll see when they're adults. Maybe I'll post a picture on Bug Guide or whatnot. Well, another thing for Alan and for TJ, I sent that Darkling Beetle expert guy the images of the male of those Zophobus from Key Largo, and both through him telling me what to look for and then me looking for it and then also saying the picture to confirm, Zophobus opacus has a slit notch in the, he had a special name for it, but there's all these anatomical names. There's like specific ones to beetles. I'm pretty sure it's the clypeus, but he called it something else. But there's a notch. It's whatever that thing is that the eyes set on and kind of give that sort of flathead shovel look to the Zophobus face. So opacus has a pretty definitive notch there, and in Atritus it just goes straight across. So they look like Atritus. And let's see if he said anything else. No, he'll get back to me when I send some Baphion pictures. So he thinks that they're Atritus. He also conceded that the distribution of Zophobus is very poorly studied. They're recently revised. He said not to rule out it being an interesting variation of Atritus. And I'm going to see what the larval morphology and whatnot is like. And I told him I would send him pictures when I get larvae so he can look at those and see if there's anything special about them. So I had also brought up, and this is information that was kind of new to him as well, was that all the Zophobus in in the feeder industry are from, rather, here's the piece of the puzzle I put together. The guy who started breeding superworms was also the guy who imported the Eublabrus distanti, the ivory roaches. Two things here. So he imported both of them. I was told that the Zophobus came from Brazil. So that putting the puzzle together here, that the Zophobus all came from Brazil. So when he imported the first superworms, that stock all came from Brazil. Now, the darkling beetle identifier taxonomist that you connected me with, TJ, sent me a paper on. He also said to document the wild habits of Zophobus because they're very poorly studied. But there was a record of Zophobus natural history in an attic in Trinidad or something like that, but basically found that they have a strong affinity for bat guano in the wild. So here's where the piece of the puzzle is trying to connect. The original superworms came from Brazil. The Eublabrus distanti are, of course, a bat cave cockroach species. So I'm thinking that the industry superworms and the ivory head roaches probably came from the same place in Brazil. Isn't that a Russian bot? Is there a Russian bot in my live stream? So putting those together, it seems, it kind of tells us the story that perhaps this guy went to Brazil and the Agama International guy was looking for feeders to use, or he was on a reptile trip and he had an importer and he was able to bring them in to work with because he thought they would be good feeders because they're bat cave species or something like that. And I kind of think that might have, and of course he died maybe 7 or 8 years ago. He's been dead for some time now, and somebody else took over the business. They may still be around. I don't know. I remember they posted on Roach Forum a couple of years ago. They bought the business. All of the ivory heads were dying for some reason, and they were trying to troubleshoot what was wrong with them. So if they're still in business, it might be worth contacting them. They might have more information on both of those things. I may get around to doing that. But basically, so I think it's fairly safe to say that the Zophobus atratus, aka once known as Morio, are Brazilian stock. So where am I going with this? The Keys ones may have different origins. They may have came in separately. They might be a natural part of the range or what have you. So, I thought all that interesting. So we'll see what happens when these guys start reproducing and what have you. And I sent him a picture of the punctation too, and I had made my comments on that. Also, TJ, this is turning into the share information with TJ live stream, apparently. I was talking to him about the Ambaphion that I collected near the Boland's Old West Trading Post. And I was asking him, like, hey, how do you tell the difference between all these contusum subspecies? And he told me with his next publication, or wherever next publication is coming out, they're just doing away with all those, just one species, Ambaphion contusum. So I'm going to send him some pictures and triple confirm the identification on them. So that was pretty exciting. There we go. There's the good news. Other good news, Eleodes osculans is pupating in situ for me, abundantly pupating in situ, which is very different from my last experience with them. Let's see if I can. The glare is too bad. Maybe I'll do something to cover up that area next time I do a live stream, so it's not as blinding. But the first and last time that I had worked with them, did not have very good results. I got them from Kevin Przybilla. I don't know if he's still around. and I couldn't get any. I think I maybe got one larva for the whole time that I had them. It just did not do well for me. I was very discouraged because they are very adorable. And so now being able to get a colony going and all this stuff is very exciting, very encouraging. And I think I'm really going to, TJ, well, you'll also be happy to hear this. I'm really going to start working with more darklings. I mean, I kind of went on the Arizona trip figuring like, yeah, I want to get a bunch of these smaller darklings that probably don't need diapause and stuff like that. So I'm next time I go to Arizona, anybody who's offering stuff for swap, I'll probably start acquiring more of those. I would love to get more Ambaphion species if I can, but that seems like kind of a tall order. So miscellaneous Aliotes from Arizona, hopefully from California, and I would like to get some this spring freshly wild caught as Bullous verrucosus, and I would like to throw my hat in the ring with constantly propagating those, because the last time that I gave them a fair effort was at my parents', where I kept them in my old bedroom, which was upstairs. Not the old bedroom that became the bug room, but the old bedroom the Kyle room. And they overwintered in my bedroom. The temperature would get down in the 50s, 60s during the winter. And then it got blazing hot during the summertime. And they just cranked out the larvae. There was just like hundreds of larvae in this little tiny critter keeper with them. So I want to give them a try and see if some of my current techniques would work well with them. And there's also the spinipes, the success with the spinipes. There's nothing new there. Nothing new with the spinipede and other Asbola species I would love to work with as well now and see what can be done there. But the spinipes, nothing new. I isolated 5 in 2 different containers. And then you had mentioned, TJ, that you didn't have any problems with them needing to be cooled to induce pupation or what have you. So I made the 2 containers. I was like, oh, put this one in a cold place and keep this one in the office where it's warmer. And like, I don't really even feel like moving the one to the cold place, because I remember when I worked with the spinipes, whatever the subspecies that Oren had, that they didn't need cooling to pupate. They just needed to be separated. I swear I did something dumb, like put them in like a tackle box like I would do with Zophobus. I swear I did something, but I can't remember. So I'm just going to leave them there, and maybe in a month a bunch of adults will pop up and I can click my heels and be extremely happy, because I really love that species. And of course the story with Will and I being at the location collecting at like 3 a.m. and then forcing Will to watch the copulating sulfuges while I went off to look for pocket mice and more darklings and stuff, TJ says, always good to hear more people interested in breeding darklings. Should have some Trioropus larvae available in the spring, which I really think are going to be a hit in the hobby. I'm going to look those up. You'll start producing some. I'm going to look this up really quick before I keep reading. Yeah, those are the little blueberry beetles I think you were talking about. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Some Apsina species Kuna again. Pretty red and bluish darklings. Oh, look, here's some images on Beetle Forum. Boy, all these small darklings just look so similar. They're pretty, and it's cool to be able to have a communal with a bunch of different species in it too. So, Ventricosa, Spinipes ventricosa. Does he still have those? I feel like these Macrura dwarf them substantially. But, maybe if I'm going to do more darklings, I might as well get those again, too. And I still have some other – I have those you said it was a very common Aliote species that we collected in Bylus. I didn't write it down. I should have. I'm going to send you pictures eventually to re-ID everything. Probably send you into that darkling beetle guy. And those, I left them in the collection cup, the one that we put them in on the trip. It was just like, it was like 1.2.2 or 2.3 or 1.2 adults. I was just like, these might need to be cooled, and they're cool, but they're like such a normal looking big darkling. Like, I would much rather have Obscurus or Suturalis or Spinipes or Armatus even. So I was just like, I don't really want to put a lot of effort into setting these up. And they're doing fine, and they're producing larvae in there. So I'm just like, if some larvae get big enough, I'll pull them and see what they need to pupate, I guess. Selling captive bred adult pairs of species. I need to actually send Oren a message. I was supposed to do a trade with him last year, and then I think we went to Florida, and then I got back and everything was post Florida chaos, and I forgot about it. So I should probably reach out to him because I know he wanted some orthopterans too. Like, these Taphiliska might be of interest to him, at least pictures. So, have you ever had waxworms? Yeah, I have worked with them. I bred them before. They breed really well. I mean, they're a pest of like beehives. So um, if you know any beekeeping friends and they get some old combs and whatnot, if you just set it outside somewhere where like vermin like mice and skunks and stuff can't get into them. Oh, also, I thought there was going to be a giveaway today. Yeah, Kaya brought that up, and I said that we would do it this week. I don't think I put in the tagline for for today, which is my bad. So yeah, we may I may get to doing that. Let me see. I may get to doing. Pull that up and hear myself in stereo. Scary. Yeah, I forgot to put in the tagline, but I rather do suppose we could get around to doing that. So I'll get around to it before we wrap up. I'm pretty got a good flow going here. I'm all right with going to maybe the 2 hour mark today. So what was I talking about? Yeah, I need to contact Oren, and he'll probably want some of these orthopterans that I have enumerating in my house. Grylis from Nebraska have been hatching. I can't believe how many are hatching out of that little cup. So I'm happy about that, I guess. They're growing pretty fast. Whips are doing well. I want those Phrynis white eye. Alan's looking for them for me. Kai's looking for them for me. I would just like a group of them before they stop being imported, and just so I can throw them in a 5.5 or a 10-gallon, and Alan will get mad at me when they do well communally. So, what other stuff? Other things. Other important things. There's a lab in Eastern Michigan, Spider Lab, that has an abundance of titty cuddles. Titty cuddle. I don't know if they're albopilosum or not. I'm trying to get that information out of them. Said that they're the normal curly hairs without the white hairs. So I need to dig in further, because I wouldn't mind getting 600 titty cuddles, slings, but I would want to have pure stuff, so it's more worth it. So if they can explain to me what they have, or if anybody here can explain to me what went down with the whole hobby titty cuddle taxonomy versus the import albopilosums, I would love to hear that, because that might make this decision a bit easier. There's a lot of slings, but like, I'm fine with it. I like curly hairs, so I like the common tarantulas. I like dwarf tarantulas. I love dwarf tarantulas. Will and I were talking, I think it was today, something about like, you take something that's usually big and you make it very small, and it's more appealing for some reason. Like with Will's obsession with the tiny tarantulas, tiny whip spiders, and stuff like that. So yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Anything else to note? Alan, the original Anomalous setup, I saw one today. And you may recall that it is a tank full of rotting wood and the whatnot, and I had not seen any of the Anomalous in there since I added them. Well, I found one today. It looked very happy. It might have even been larger than the largest one that I added to the container, so that's positive. Might be larger, so that's good. I just remember 2016 or early 2017. I had to be hundreds of Anomalous from the ones that you had sent me then, and just a little. It's the I don't have any up here. I use them for air. It's the next size up of container that I use for Aeronavega colonies. It's maybe 6 inches by 6 inches by 7 inches. It's with an open lidded container. It's like a candy jar type thing, plastic candy jar. There's just hundreds of them in there, just feeding on rotting wood. And then spring came or summer came, and the temperature in the attic where they were being kept dropped, and it just died. It was over maybe the course of 3 weeks. They just all just died. So I'm hoping I'm going to avoid that with the current setup. I don't know if it probably was not the temperature, but it was probably the combination of the temperature and the humidity without the ventilation, because they had one little 1-inch vent hole, which is fine during the winter when everything's dry, but not during the spring or summer when things are cooler and more moist. So I'm hoping I avoid that. Because it'd be nice to have those going and then to feel more confident moving into other pillipedes into the future. And, I don't think anybody's back in 2015. A lot of people got those sort of medium-sized pills that were from Southeast Asia, myself included. I had given them a go. And, the European breeders were saying they were getting them going. And, those rainbow ones that were like pink and yellow and black that were being thrown around in like 2017, 2018. And everybody was saying, oh, yeah, the people in Europe are breeding them. Oh, yeah, they're very easy. They eat leaf litter. And there's like, I was very hesitant to give them a go, which I did not, because I was like, something is strange here. This is the price is too much. The presentation is too fresh. It's kind of like with vampire crabs, where they were everywhere and everybody said, oh, so easy and all this stuff. And then you give it a couple of years, and then all of a sudden nobody seems to have them, and now you have to special order them online or something like that. But it's one of those things. It just seems too good to be true with something. You don't always get. It's very few and far between that you get some really, really, really insanely cool new species or taxon, and it's just so unbelievably easy. You wonder, how did nobody breed this or breed anything like this for like decades, And so now I can't find those anywhere. They call them like species strawberry shake or something like that, and now nowhere. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because I will be the first person to purchase some if there are any currently available that are captive bred. So, but yeah, Rhopalomerus. I'm gonna Google that and hope I don't get some weird results. Rhopalomerus for sale. Let's see. My Home Nature has them. Isopod.com claims to have them. Nowhere else has them. Young from my Rhopalomerus on April 1st, 2019. Rhopalomerus species strawberry. There's nothing recent. My Home Nature has them, but they are almost certainly wild caught. Almost certainly. I get suspicious when people claim that things are breeding, and they don't have a stratification of ages in what they're presenting. So if they say they have a colony going, or doing so well, and you see a bunch of adults and just like a couple babies, like things will poop out some babies, and then the babies will die and will not take as a culture, a colony that will continue propagating. So, um, isopod.com claims to have them listed under their Cubaris. Why? Probably way at the bottom of everything. Probably way, way at the bottom with everything else that's sold out. Ooh, Species Jupiter. Maybe I'll get some of those. God, I don't want to have to deal with getting dying wild-caught isopods again. I don't want that. Yeah, it's not even, you can't even access the page. Because it's not even among the listing that it's supposed to be among. So, young from my Rhopalomerus. This picture has some little teeny tiny niblets. Oh, that setup looks so sterile. And nothing recently. So yeah, most people crash them, but some European breeders got them going. There's probably some pics of juveniles on arachnoboards. Yeah, but that's not. I would like them to be to the point where I can Google Rhopalomerus for sale and then purchase a colony of captive bred individuals for my own pleasure and enjoyment. And they did not reach that point despite being perpetuated as being very easy and very forgiving. Oh, you got to buy them now, and they're, blah blah blah. There weren't a billion asterisks there, and also usually it seems like some of the larger importers / vendors for these things say, "Oh, they weren't captive bred; they were farm raised. They are farmed, and by farmed they mean they are collected, probably on somebody's farm in Southeast Asia." So, yeah. So rip that, but at least we have Glomerus, which seem to be more consistent in the U.S. But who knows how long they will last? Obviously, I have not produced an F2 myself, so maybe I shouldn't be talking. But some of those Onomerus got to subadult or very, very close to full size from that first set, which is why I'm very eager to try them again with this new overly committed setup, because I feel like it's a surefire way to get them going. So, but yeah, I really like that other species, the Glomerus marginata, the black and white one, but can only ask for so much. Trying to think of other more general good news, or just more general news, other than I had started talking earlier about really wanting, or about being in the middle of redoing all my isopod bins, and that's because I don't want to have another situation where I go July to August, August to September, September to October, October to November, 4 or 5 months without doing maintenance of any sort on isopod bins. So, I'm redoing all the bins, and of course, because I am not unfoundedly paranoid, but properly paranoid about things getting into bins they should not be, and mixing of lines, because it seems like you can't buy you cannot buy the isopods that people initially fell in love with back around 2016, 2017. You cannot find a vendor with pure Armadillidium klugii Dubrovnik, because they're all mixed around, because people weren't properly tracking things. There wasn't a culture emphasizing keep your lines pure. oh, I get powder blues and scavers getting into places and other cultures they shouldn't be, and oh, there's dwarf whites and all. Like, you need to promote a culture that emphasizes keeping strains pure and keeping things straight and organized. When you have careful genetic projects and species that will readily cross, that you may not even know can do that. So, um, so yeah, Porcelio expansus. Multiple people have bought orange expansus in the last 2 years, and they're not the oranges that were originally brought in. They are mutts with the whites, which is like, it's fine, right? It's fine from like uh, I just want to keep Porcelio expansus. Okay, it's still same species, but like the oranges were unique as a line and a unique range compared to the whites in the wild. So now you have completely trashed all of these unique characteristics, including the gigantic size. Because when I had first gotten the oranges when they first came in, you could get adult males that were that big, these huge, impressive isopods. Now you buy orange, and you will get some males that are this big, and you will get some males that are this big, because now there is a variable phenotype because of the heterozygosity that was introduced to the line by crossing them with the whites, and then people saying like, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, if you want to make a new line and call it something different, now that you've combined the whites and the oranges, and you want to do that, but people are selling things as something that it's not, and that's the problem. And everybody's time is being ruined because of it. So, small rant. One of these days, I'll go on another isopod rant. Maybe on somebody else's stream. Become known as the angry isopod guy or something like that. Phil Dresty says, I know you don't sell any, but do you keep tarantulas personally, or are you just not interested in them? I do like tarantulas. From a young age and perspective, going to reptile expos and whatnot, sensory overload of different tarantulas. And I like them, but they're cool. From a business perspective, for me, not the thing to really get into, because there's already so many people working with them. I don't have the advanced, deeper categorical knowledge to sort of know where to go for really good stock and pure species and localities and stuff like that. But I do, as an individual, yes, I do keep a few of them, actually. I would like to offer some more in the future. I think I found my love with them with the dwarf species, the Seriocosmus and Davis, and the smaller Aphonopelmas and all that stuff. So, I will definitely be getting more into some of the smaller ones. And, I may have some come through from swaps and other wholesale inventory, like I was talking about the titty cuddles earlier. Personally, right now, I have an Aphonopelma from Sahuarita, which we collected. We were out for a walk collecting bugs, and I saw it out, and I put my foot on the burrow, and it turned around and was like, where'd my burrow go? So I have that individual. It's a female. So I would like to find a male for her. Probably if we go back to Arizona, or if I can get my friend that lives there to send me a male. Just smaller species, it seems. So I like those. I really love Davis, and I'm working on getting some more Davis species right now. I just really like the color, the way they hold their body when they're sitting there. It's not really that sort of just like plopped legs. It's just sort of, they're like some of the other tarantulas have. There was a Brachypelma, a rare Brachypelma species that I really liked, that I would probably get again. It looked a lot like it was a Mexican Aphonopelma that looks a lot like a lot of the prettier Brachypelma species. So I think I would like to maybe work with some locality or non-hybrid Smith Eye and blah blah blah. This is a tarantula. The other thing with the tarantula stuff is the identities on things keep changing, and not just every like 10, 20 years, but like on the scale of every 3 to 5 years, somebody's saying like, oh, this stock isn't actually that, and this isn't that locality, and blah, blah, blah. Ooh, TJ, important information in the chat. Found someone with R Rustica. Who has them? I will throw rare roaches at them to get some Rustica. I am desperate, and I will not lose them. I will literally do 2 10-gallon tanks with one sitting completely vacant next to the first one to ensure that we keep Rustica going between everybody who wants them. This is a good live stream. We got some good stuff going on here. Oh boy. Paul's Pills on Facebook. Well, Paul's Pills, you are about to get a Facebook message. And this is a lot because, as you all know, I don't use Facebook. Oh, Paul's Pills. Oh, now I have to go on Facebook. Oh, now I have to log in on Facebook. Oh, now I have to find Paul's Pills and send a message. Oh, it's okay. It's worth it because Rhabdobladder rustica. Oh, this phenomenal. Paul's Pills. Search for Paul's Pills. Paul's Pills pet breeder. Oh, he has quite a few roaches. That's wonderful. Oh, and his isopod stock seems nice too. He seems like he's got some good stuff. Master list. Let's see what he's got here. Oh, he's got them and he's using the right labels. Hello, Paul. Myself and many others would like to get some of your R Rustica. Are you interested in any trades? Amazing. Whoa, you okay? Oh, he knocked over one of the cups I have here. I was okay, Victor. And he has some Paratemnopteryx, which I actually need to boost my colony with. Nyctolata? Oh, he probably means Nocticola. Maybe. So I probably have some things that he'd like. He's got a fair assortment of different isopods. Seems like a cool guy. Also, I do not appreciate how, 25 for 20, that's great. I sent him a message, the Ranting Roach guy. Yeah, I like that Ranting Roach guy. Maybe that'll be my persona. That list is from 9-9/2. Yeah, but he may still have them. He pinned it as a January 23rd. He may have them still. So I sent him a Facebook message. Hello, Jay. Welcome. You've made it. Stream may not last for too much longer, but I'm glad that you popped in. With that being said, I think I'll throw that giveaway in here real quick. And with that being said, shoot me an email to roachcrossing@gmail.com with the full Latin name of the centipede that Kai was bitten by last week. I guess properly it should be stung by because it's not actually the mouth parts. But so whoever sends me an email to roachcrossing@gmail.com with the Latin name of the centipede that Kai was bit by last week, you will receive a small juvenile of that species for free, live arrival guarantee, blah, 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 blah. Oh, baby, Rustica, this is great. Maybe he'll trade for Borneos or something. And this poor guy, he might have like 4 of us Roach people messaging him, like bombarding him for these Rustica. Oh, this is great. I'm gonna see if he wants to trade. He has a good list of roaches. It's a good representation across a fair, different interests there. So I'm going to see, maybe he'll want some Elliptorhina Davidi or Elliptorhina levigata. Those seem like things that he might want since they're rare Elliptorhina. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get 100 from him and save Rhabdoblata rustica. We can all be on the. I mean, you're not really saving it since he still has them, but we'll be getting into the greater Roach vernacular again. Well, we have a winner already for the centipede. Congratulations to TJ. It is correct. Scolopendra alternans is the correct answer. So TJ, I believe you won something. You won the gold. These golden shower dubias. TJ, you're gonna have a good box of stuff from me, apparently. So, thank you everybody for competing. The correct answer was TJ was not only was he first, but he was also correct that it was Scolopendra alternans. I would have begrudgingly maybe accepted Scolopendra longipes, but I would have complained about it here. Yeah, I think if he was bit by subspinipes, he would not have been able to just walk it off. So yeah, congratulations yet again, TJ, with your quick draw, despite being in a different time zone and whatever was your internet scenario. Yeah, TJ's quite the person here. Oh boy, this is exciting. Oh, Rustica's not lost. This is great. Oh, thank you, TJ, for your sleuthing and finding this guy. This is great. Now, like I said, I have no problem paying for them, but I'll see if he wants to swap and see if, since he seems to have pretty good, I mean, it could just be the picture quality that's sort of like, I was just talking to TJ, I have the price at $20 for $25. Let me see what you have to offer in trade. I'm just going to send a link to Roach Crossing and tell him to look around. All right, he responded. Perfect. All right, TJ wins again. Yeah, TJ is the real winner tonight, finding the rustica and whatnot. Feel free to offer him mantises I have. I can send you extras. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. I think I will probably be good. It is, as the other Roach folks here may know, I have no shortage of prime trade species of roaches, so I think we'll probably be good. I may offer him some extravagant amount of Elliptorhina davidi or levigata just so I can get a big chunk of a colony, and then maybe see if he's got any other isopods available. Like, again, my quest for pure Armadillidium klugi Dubrovnik just started yesterday. Already hit, or maybe the day before, already hit so many snags. So we'll be buying. Yeah, I can't believe you found. Did you just look up Rhabdoblata rustica? And it's also interesting that he's using rustica, because that means that he either saw your post, TJ, or he has been on my site before and saw that I was also using rustica. So, yeah, this is great. This is wonderful. Wow. Well, now I feel like I know I felt less pressure with the Pseudophoraspis before, because I don't know how to describe this, but it was like, okay, rustica are gone, we don't have them. I have Pseudophoraspis, they're doing okay. I'll just they're okay. I'm just whatever happens. But now it's like we could have like Pistoplatia, Epilampra, Rhabdoblata rustica, Epilamprine species Borneo, and Pseudophora. We could have 5 epilamprine roaches in culture in the U.S. consistently, So I'll post on Facebook, asking around for them. Someone suggested that. Oh, that's wonderful. See, it's moments like this that make me want to get back on Facebook, But then I also realize if I go back on Facebook, half the isopod community is going to be pissed at me for being like, hey, stop selling bastardized lines of things. So, maybe I'll get the gall up. And also, Facebook is a huge time waster with respect to sales and getting things done. It's a lot easier to just go through emails and handle things there. A lot, not necessarily because it's easier sells through emails, but you see on Facebook and you see a post, and you go follow that, and I could talk to this person about that. You go do that, and next thing you know, you've drained 3 or 4 hours just sort of flailing around. And sometimes it pays off, but sometimes is not the best. So, and I have enough stuff on my hands as it is. So it's great to have some people who are sort of tapped into that currently, such as you folks. So I can be crazy and just propagate billions of bugs and occasionally acquire more. Oh boy, what a great lot! I do love that. I guess I was kind of concerned going into these streams, and it's becoming less and less about me doing emails and stuff like that, which is fine because with Will helping out, I'm able to get a lot more site work and emails done in the morning. Good night, Tristan. Thank you for showing up. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and looking forward to your box with your Christmas freebies going out next week. Anyways, I've had a lot more time to work on things with Will sort of taking care of some of the in and out, day in, day out stuff at the beginning of the day. So being able to stay on top of them and not quite get buried, being able to do, 20 to 50 emails a day in the morning versus having to do them in huge chunks. So Phil Dresty, do you say why you are so excited about our Rustica? Yes, earlier on, I was bringing up the sad news that I was down to 3 adult female Rustica. We had no idea if they were mated. I found 2 of them dead when I checked on them a couple days ago. The third one is missing in action, but presumably none of them were mated. So it's exciting because everybody, all the other, I don't want to call them big roach people. I guess the heart of the roach community. That's a very nice thing. The heart of the roach community at large, everybody had lost their cultures. So it was looking like we were kind of screwed because nobody in Europe has them. They're not cultured anywhere else. I don't even know where they originally came from. But now this person on Facebook has been maintaining them in sort of silence. Kind of like what happened with Elliptorhina levigata, where somebody in California had bought some from blabbers.com at like an expo or something like that, and had just had a colony going in like a tank in their basement for years, and was just like, hey, do you want some? It was like, ah! So yeah, I'm excited because they're no longer, somebody has them, they're no longer extinct in the hobby or in the general roach, the heart of the roach community at large. So I'm very excited about that. Save me looking. Do you have? Of course. So he's looking at Panclora species, so that's good. Does he have harlequins? No, he doesn't have harlequins, but he seems like the type of person who should have some harlequins. As in, he seems to do well with a good sampling of different species that whatever general setup he may or may not be using might be very accommodating to harlequins. Also, the other thing, the person I got my harlequins from, Island Reptiles, has not had them for years. I contacted him a couple days ago. There was somebody I sent some harlequins to last winter, and they were going to put them in a big setup and be very nice to them. Oh, when was that? seeing if this person that I think I sent some Harlequins to. Oh, because they might have them. Oh, who did I send them to? Here's somebody. I'm gonna see if they're Harlequins. This might be the Phoenix live stream where all the dead cultures come back from the dead. We'll see if this person did anything with the Harlequins. I think I sent them like 2 pairs. They were really excited about them, and I told them I didn't have any. But I had a lot of adults at the time, and if I could spare 2 pairs for somebody who's going to put in a lot of effort with them. So let's see. Harlequin roaches. Hello. Were you able to get a colony of Harlequin roaches established? All right. We'll see. And who knows, this could be a situation where you message them and they're like, oh, I have them everywhere. Or, oh, I had so many of them, I had to start feeding them to something, or I had to start giving them away or something like that. So, we will see. Oh, shoulder. There we go. That's exciting. This is kind of also like last week where Alan, where I was talking about how I was very upset that the only female Latiblatella reni flew off into the room and I couldn't catch it. And then Alan was like, didn't I send you like 6 of those? And my brain had to think, oh, it was a Euthlastoblata from southern Florida that I only received a pair of, or only received 2 of. There were several Latiblatella, so it's like, yeah. I for being psychotic flying machines, I do like Latiblatella. So it's kind of like the appeal of they're like crazier Balta. Ellen threatened to do horrible things to me if I lost or killed or anything negative happened to the southern Florida Euthlastoplatas. So, I can update on those. Like I remember earlier I pointed that was like, nothing really up to date, but I have to sometimes also force myself into the frame of reference of we got a lot of roach people here. So even the little things, like if I were to say like, ooh, I found baby Ectobius pallidus from captive breds, people would get excited about that here versus the greater general public. Oh, the pseudoglomerous babies are exciting, but not the Ectobius, so yeah, the Euthlastoblad, the male matured, female still fine. I haven't found any new ooths, but I'm sure there's plenty of them. There's nothing in there in the setup to suggest that they wouldn't end up thriving. Yeah, these are. I will probably go ahead and switch a lot of things to these setups. And I might even, these new isopod bins that I've been doing. So I mentioned how paranoid I am about stuff getting mixed up and how also justified I am about, how justified I am about that. So I've been doing a little brass micro screen, maybe like 1/2 inch hole on one side of the critter keeper to have a very consistent aesthetic, but also so that instead of having to adjust my sprayer and spray down through the lid and the water doesn't always penetrate through the frost cloth barrier that acts as a second means of stopping stuff from escaping and blah, blah, blah. So that I don't have to do all that extra work, I can just put the nozzle of the sprayer up to the brass micro screen hole and spray, and it'll water things. And I usually, because of the ventilation, the setups, I don't have problems with things molding or getting the wrong type of mold on them rather. And so it's more about having an easy way to water without actually having to check. And of course, I have to open up to put new food and whatnot in, but usually there's more than enough in there that just wetting it or just giving them something to drink is all that they really need. They don't even need to be thoroughly checked on. So I might start doing that with the ectobids, because the problem, again, as I mentioned, is keeping them hydrated in the winter, which isn't so much of a problem. I can just abundantly spray. But during the summertime, it's nice to just do a very light mist so that they can have the option to come out and drink some actual water if they want to, without being inundated and unable to get away from it. So that would mean I have to redo all of those enclosures with the new style, because I can't put the vents on while they're occupied. I have to put the vent on the inside so that the nozzle will fit into the hole and be able to spray inwards like that, versus it being the brass on the outside, and then I have to push the nozzle up against the brass, and water will drip and get in between the brass and the glue and all the stuff that I don't want. So I have to redo all of those. But most of them are doing fine as they are. And so I guess it's something that I can just work on in that abundant spare time that I constantly have, I guess. So, yeah. So that's for another day. But maybe I'll do that with the Blatella and whatnot that I start putting into those bins. And hopefully the Vega will get established, and I'm not going to have Wolbachia, ancient metallic archaea, or whatever the Metal Gear quote is. I have to look it up. I look this stuff up. Can't have a Metal Gear reference without doing the full Wolbachia Metal Gear wiki. Surely there's the quote somewhere around here. Wolbachia is a weird name. No, they don't have the quote. Ancient metallic archaea, or whatever it is. Metal Gear quote. Anyways. Yeah, you could collect more Vega from Dolphin Island or whatever, I guess, if I needed more. I something's gotta be up. I remember I've bred them okay before, in a long time ago when I first got them, which is why they're on the site. Same with the Asani, and then the Asani have been doing fine up until this summer, but they're probably recovering just fine. The little penguins too. I wonder if there's just a Wolbachia or something on that one shelf and it's somehow getting around. I wonder if the Pyralis moths can act as a vector for Wolbachia, because the Pyralis moths do like the conditions in the ectobiid containers being a little on the drier side, and there's usually a lot of Pyralis in those containers. Alex, you think that Pyralis moths can be a vector for Wolbachia, for just generalized insect Wolbachia? Oh boy, we might have a smoking gun here. That would suck. This would explain a lot of things. No, I don't bleach supplies between uses, but I'm wondering if they can be a vector. What would probably happen is the caterpillars fed on whatever the original container was that had the Wolbachia bacteria in it, and then they metamorphosized into adult moths, traveled to another container, created whatever sort of either the dead bodies or they pooped or something, excreted into the new container and contaminated with the Wolbachia and blah, blah, blah. Huh. Doxycycline to your colonies to rid of it. Where do I get Google where to get doxycycline? Huh. Wow, this would definitely explain a lot of things. So there might be a cross-contagious strain of Wolbachia between lepidopterans and roaches, and it would seem that very specific groups of Ectobiidae will be affected by this. So it seems like the Blatella. I haven't had the issue in Germanica, but I haven't found the Pyralis moths in their enclosure. But in the Sinai, in the Vega, and in the little penguins, aka possibly CF Jacobsoniana, and I think those are all in a clade together because I don't have this problem with Parkoblatta. I don't have this problem with what's other tobiids I have. Any of this stuff here, a lot of the tobiids up here. So there must be within that clade. It might be Blatellinae, whatever that little. Maybe it's a tribe within Ectobiidae. So, and these containers are great for keeping the Pyralis out. Every once in a while, there'll be one that finds its way into there, but it's maybe only 3-4 of those containers have Pyralis that have found their way into them. Either kills or feminizes males. If a reduction in hatches in female heavy colony, males are likely being killed. That might explain what's going on with the Blatella vega and the little penguins. So it seems like it would behoove me to set them up in new enclosures like this ASAP, which I was going to do anyways. Alan was supposed to Shanghai a male little penguin or maybe a pair of adults, and I would throw them in one of these containers to infest. But that would make a lot of sense on why some of these Ectobia colonies are not producing, and only in the wake of the Pyralis. So I'm not concerned because it seems like this is affecting a very small group of roaches, and I've had the Pyralis around since I moved into this house. I'm pretty sure they came from my ex's grandparents' attic, where there was a lot of just like organic detritus in like the cold storage room and whatnot. So, yeah, that won't help though. Wolbachia lurks in the reproductive tract of the insect. So it seems like I would have to isolate some babies. And coming from, if Alan is able to acquire some more little penguins and send them my way, I think I can put them in one of those setups and not have any issues, because Lobopterella, and like I said, the regular Blatella germanica have not had any issues. I think, Alex, do you know if there's a temperature component to that as well? Because all those cultures are being are at what I would probably consider to be not their optimum temperatures, because I don't have to mass produce all of those species. So I'm wondering if antibiotics to hatchlings. I'm wondering if maybe by bringing them upstairs and raising the general temperature, if that might produce results. Like maybe it's suboptimal for the Wolbachia, so it's either naturally fought off by the roaches or it just dies out naturally because temperatures is too high for it or something like that. So, yeah, so curious. Very, very interesting. Some things we're discovering here. This could be of use for, another big announcement that I forgot to get to earlier. I will be, within the next 3 months, updating the Roach Crossing Roach Care Guide. I'm going to go through and add some pictures of like the Nocticola because it needs that. Update some of my old suggestions for things. Update just a general 2.0 update for the whole thing. Maybe add some other sections. But this would be a very obscure thing, and of course, I don't know how I would prove that they have Wolbachia other than the systemic symptoms of what's going on. Intracellular parasites is usually missed by the immune system. Very interesting. I'm also curious how the roaches would respond to antibiotics, considering all of their bacteria and their bladder bacterium and whatnot. So I may go and look in my Vega and Asani colonies. I'm pretty sure that the little penguins at the moment are probably compromised with that if that's what is going on. So that colony seems like, Alan, if you want to save them, just send me a pair. I'll put them in one of these special enclosures with the special lid so that they can't be infected. I'm sure they'll be fine because, again, Loboptera, Lobopterella are currently in the enclosures and they're doing well. Bladybacterium is a bacteria. I know that they do have a rich assemblage of other organisms, unless this is one of those silly situations where it's called a bladybacterium, but it's not actually a bacteria. Endosymbiont bacteria, yeah. So I'm not sure how they will respond to antibiotics. So I'm curious to see what families will back you. It's probably its own family or grouping of bacteria. Cellular bacteria, Rickettsiales. Okay, they're in very, very different groups of bacteria. So Wolbachia gram-negative? Endosymbiont. I think bladybacteria might be gram-negative. So, but anyways, yeah, roaches have many, just a bunch of different endosymbionts, but the main one is intracellular in their fat bodies, or special modified fat bodies is bladybacterium. So, okay, so Wolbachia is gram-negative. I'm not sure if bladybacterium is. So, yeah, so how many kinds of pet roaches are there? Jay, bringing us back down to the hobby level here before we take off with our high, lofty language. How many pet roaches are there? Probably about, in the United States, if you're fortunate that's an old rug and you're allowed to do that. In the United States, maybe 200 species / strains, maybe 230 liberally. In the world, I would say maybe 400, 450, not necessarily in any one collection, but just Europeans have stuff that we don't, people in Japan have stuff that we don't, etc. So, yeah, TJ, thank you for connecting us with the Rhabdoblada guide. This is really wonderful. What a 180 to tonight, feeling doom and gloom, and then all of a sudden we can just get a whole bunch of them. So, and yeah, TJ, you're gonna have quite the box from me whenever that happens. I'm sure I have some other things I need to send you. It's okay, Jay. I thank you for asking the questions and for coming in. As you can see, there are many levels to the roach hobby, and I will brag and say that compared to a lot of other invertebrate hobbies, I suppose, we're very scientific and I suppose literate on roaches beyond just, ooh, this one's cool and pretty. There's a lot of discussion of taxonomy and husbandry techniques and all the biology, life history, etc. So it's very fun to dive into these, especially when you have two roaches that are at face value little gray things, and you find out that one of them lives under palm fronds and spends almost its entire life exclusively there, and the other one lives in a bromeliad and dead trees in the middle of marine marshes or things like that. So it's a lot of fun. And very, very mentally stimulating. So, but yeah, Wolbachia thing definitely makes me want to go and check on my colonies tonight. And I think, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, so it's a pretty good place to call it. So I will probably go and investigate and see if my Asani have actually been afflicted, or, I just haven't been tending to them as much because, and Victor is telling me, he says, Dad, it's time for us to go do something. Yeah, he says, I've been very patient here waiting for you. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming. We may pick up this topic. On Wolbachia next week, and I'll report back as far as my findings with my colonies and whatnot. And we'll see what can be done, perhaps systemically or direct treatment wise. So, with that being said, thanks everybody for coming to listen and talk. This has been an uplifting live stream. I hope everybody's had a wonderful 2021. Let's look forward to an amazing 2022. I sure do have some big plans for 2022 myself. So that being said, have a good night, everyone. Happy New Year in advance, and may your cultures be ever bountiful.